All right, so for our main thing with analyzing polynomials here, using our calculator, today is actually going to be a lot of calculator skills rather than a whole lot of like, this is how you do this math. We can't factor these, so this is why we graph them. So your first thing is just being able to open up a graph document and get someplace here a function that you can type in. Remember, you can press the tab button to open a function, or you can go to your menu. You can go to Graph Entry Edit, and you can add a function. If you do that, it will pop up this bar with your blinking cursor there for you to type this in. So our first thing is to just type in the equation that we have. So on page 236, question number 1, we have 2x to the third power plus 20x squared, etc., etc. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. Hopefully we know how to type these things in at this point. And once you type in your entire equation, hit enter. The picture I get looks like this. And if you are zoomed in like I was zoomed in, this is what you're going to see as well. Okay? So some of what we're doing today is just learning how to look at this graph. We are still going to use some of the stuff we talked about last class. For example, what degree is this polynomial? Third degree with what kind of leading coefficient? Positive. This means that the left side goes down, the right side goes up. Do we see all of that here? No. No. It looks like both ends go up to me, but clearly I should know that from what I know from before. So here's what we have to do. You have to be smarter than the calculator today, okay? Where you want to go to figure out what this actually looks like is menu, window, and we are not going to do any of these preset windows. Please, for the love of everything that's holy, do not use Zoom Fit. If someone taught you that, forget it. It's evil, okay? We are going to our window settings, all right? Our window settings are better for us than anything else in these like presets. You can do Zoom Fit on this. You will get an inaccurate graph of this. Okay? And actually before I show you this, I'm going to show you what mine shows me. I have 2 issues with Zoom Fit. One, when I do that, I get that. Other times you get a different picture. Different calculators Zoom Fit differently. I don't know why. So what you'll see on this a lot of times is an inaccurate picture of this. Oftentimes when I do this, this is the first time I've actually seen a good picture on this one. When I do Zoom Fit, I frequently on this one, let me just add a 0 in here. I frequently see something that looks like that or even more flattened out where I see a huge S shape, which is not necessarily what it is. It doesn't show you your X-Intercepts. Now, things that I use to do my window settings here. I said I was in my window settings, and I'm going to set things myself. First off, I knew that the left side goes down. Now, using my Zoom Fit, I kind of spoiled the ending on this one, but you can tell there's an X-intercept over there to the left, right? I still can't even see it the way mine is. So I'm first going to change my X minimum. All right? That shows more on the left-hand side if I go lower. I have mine at -10. Let's just pick another number to plug in there for an X minimum. Do I need to go all the way to like -100? Does it look like I need to go that far? No. Common sense here tells me this is pretty close. I might do -15 or -20 if I want to be safe. I don't know why I did 22 there. All right. I'm going to change my X minimum to -20. This is guess and check for me too. So just understand that. This is why I'm showing you my thought process. I know it's over there to the left. I don't know exactly how close. I'm just going to be a little bit safe. All right. The Y min and Y max. Notice when I did Zoom Fit, mine went out to 4,000. Okay. How do you know how far out this goes? I only have one clue right now. One clue on this one, and it's not even going to be a good clue necessarily. But my first clue that I have to zoom out pretty far on the y-axis is actually the y-intercept. Someone look at the equation. What is the y-intercept of this equation? -30. So if it crosses the y-axis down at negative 30, that means my y minimum definitely needs to be below that. I'm going to just start with a y minimum of negative 50. And just to be consistent, I'm going to make my y max also 50. I'm just playing guess and check here. All right, so once my settings are set there, I'm going to hit OK. And I'm just going to see what this looks like. This is actually the hardest part of this entire thing, and this is why I spend so much time on the windows. So once mine is set that way, we're going to go ahead and hit OK, see what my graph looks like. All right, so I've got a better picture of this now. I've got the left side down, the right side up. I see all three of my x-intercepts. What do I not see still? The maximum up there. All right, I need to see that. So I'm going to go back into my window settings. And again, like I told you, this is guess and check. Let's pick another number for my y max. What should we do? 200? All right, let's give it a try. I think mine did 220, but I don't think that really matters. All right, 200. We there yet? Not quite. Well, I don't think you quite need to go to 1,000,000. We're getting quite a bit closer. I might do 300 or 400 now. Let's go 400 to be safe. All right, there we go. Now I see what this looks like. This is a good picture of my graph. What, according to our notes here, do I need to find? So sketch a complete graph. Label what? Maximums and minimums. So first, let's talk about how to find maximums and minimums from our calculator. Under menu, everything you need to find for your, we call these critical values. They're all under Analyze Graph. Under Analyze Graph, what are the zeros? Also known as the X-Intercepts. Good. We need to find those in a minute. We're going to use that. Let's just first find the minimum. I want to find the minimum on this graph. You just have to click to the left and to the right of that minimum. If you're going to just be safe, click further to the left and further to the right of that minimum than you think you need. And it tells me what that minimum is. 0.099 negative 30.2. And we're going to use the complete decimal there on that one. They don't usually do like 2 long decimals, so you can use what they have. So quickly on your paper, draw a sketch. Just notice your sketch is not going to look perfect because my scales are completely off here. I'm going to draw literally a picture of what this looks like exactly right now on my calculator. Okay? And I'm going to label my minimum as 0.099 negative 30.2. Okay, so after you label your minimum, we're going to go back into menu, back into Analyze Graph, and we are now going to ask it for our maximum. I'm going to click to the left of my maximum, click to the right of my maximum. That maximum is going to pop up there, and I'm going to label it on my graph. If you are reading ahead at all, Part C asks for increasing and decreasing intervals. What parts of my maxima and minima are going to matter for that? The X or the Y? The X. Once I have my maximum and minimum labeled, I'm going to go back into my Analyze Graph and I'm going to ask it to find my X-Intercepts. Now, one trick I've learned with the X-Intercepts, because there's 3 of them, and the only negative thing about this calculator is how you have to find them with the click to the left, click to the right. That means you have to do it 3 times. It's kind of a pain. You don't actually have to do lower and upper. I'm going to use my computer for this. If you click in between 2 of them, for example, if I click in between these 2 X-Intercepts and I just scroll to the left but don't click, it shows me one of my zeros is negative 10.1, and then I can just use my little trackpad mouse and scroll to the right, and it shows me the next one, which I can't see, negative 1.02. I think it will only show you the one on either side if you just pull it back and forth. Or you can just click to the left, click to the right. If you hover your mouse over any of these pieces of text and hold the trackpad down so that the hand closes, You can actually move any of these around if you need to, because it's hard to see some of them when they land on top of something else. So I'm going to do the same thing for all three of my x-intercepts to get all three of those zeros labeled in my graph. And there, I've dragged mine out so you can see it. So I have three x-intercepts here. They are at negative 10.1, negative 1.2, and 1.25. And these are all of what we need to analyze our graph now. So from here, I could ask you to do several things that we did in the last unit, where we asked for increasing, decreasing intervals. We could say what part of the graph is above 0 or below 0, domain range, etc. Okay, so we did find part B, which is our intercepts. Part C asks for increasing or decreasing. So remember, for this, increasing is where our graph goes up from left to right. So for example, this section and that section, right? So my increasing interval, just as a review, we use only parentheses. That left-hand side does go out of the graph, so where does it start? Negative infinity. It stops increasing at the maximum, which is at what x value? Okay. Then it starts increasing again at the bottom of that hill, which is what? 0.099, and goes out to infinity. This time the decreasing interval is just that middle section that we've skipped, which is going to be from that negative 6.77 out to 0.099. Any questions about that problem? We're going to do one more together, but really it's just practicing this and having to do it. Ideally, we're going to get through practice and a couple homework questions and be done for the day before you even leave. Yes, ma'am?
What do we do, why are we doing the open bracket instead of...
Because per physics, at the very top of the hill or the bottom of the hill, for the very split second, it's not increasing or decreasing, but constant. Okay. So we're going to stick with that explanation and just use that one. Different textbooks for pre-calc go either way. I've seen both for the sake of making it easy. If I don't do that, I always have a lot of physics people that do say that it's not doing anything at the top. So then I've just stopped arguing it and gone with that. All right, we're going to clear everything we have, and we're going to go back and do question 2 here. So I am going to go to document for me. And not document. I think it's clear. Where is clear, this one? Oh, I did a document. That's why I did this. You can either clear everything or you can add a new page. And I'm just going to start over again with a different one. If you're in the scratch pad, you can use menu and clear your page. And we're going to start with a basic graph again with nothing in it. We're going to type in question 2. This time, what is my degree and leading coefficient here? It's a fourth and negative, which means, what do I know about the end behavior of my graph? Both ends go down. Again, when I type this in, I'm going to hit enter and just see what it looks like first. I do always note my y-intercept on this one. Since this has a y-intercept only at 4, the zoom isn't as big of a deal on this one. You see most of your picture here. Now, if you started with a new graph, you see what I see here. If you started with your zoom way out from the other one, let's say you did, let me just, for argument's sake, say that you double-clicked this and you decided you were just going to change this, because I think some people did that. Let's just talk about that in case you ever do that. if I just typed this in and I see what I see as soon as I hit enter, minus 2x plus 4. All right, so if you did that, this is what you're seeing. That isn't exactly the same as the picture I saw on the right. Let's just say I want to fix my zoom in. The one zoom thing that I do use under here, window zoom, I do use zoom standard, number 5. Zoom standard brings it back to just like what I think of as the home graph. It's always right around 0, 0, about out 10 either side. Zoom standard kind of always brings it back to normal. Now, what's the only issue with my zoom standard here? Okay, I can't see the very maximum there. So I do have to fix that just slightly. I'm going to go to my window settings, and I'm going to change my Y max to something just a little bit bigger than 6. Maybe I'm going to go up to 10 or something like that. Or mine did 11. Fine, whatever. I don't care. Now, someone tell me one thing you notice about using my old graph here. What did it do for me? What's already on my graph here?
Zeros.
My zeros. Sometimes if you use a previous graph where you've already solved for something, it gives you those answers on the new graph. So that saves me a little bit of time if I do that. I'm just going to use this other graph here to start with so you can start all over again with me. This one has nothing. So just like before, I would go ahead and find my maxes and mins first. How many minimums does this graph have? 1. The minimum is, if I'm calling that an M shape, the minimum is going to be right in there. How many maximums do we have? How many maximums? 2 and 2 zeros. So take a minute on your calculators and find those quick. All right, so when we go to do our intervals here, remember increasing, decreasing, left to right. So how many pieces of this are going to be increasing? There's going to be 2 sections that are increasing. This one, as well as this little section here, right? So to write my increasing interval, where is it going to start? Negative infinity, and it's going to go along until we hit negative 0.432. I know there usually are people that just freak out on this because of all the decimals. Don't worry about that. It's the same as regular numbers. Just go from one to the next. The next section that I highlighted there starts at 0.541 and goes out to 2.14. Now decreasing, there's also going to be 2 sections on this one because of the M shape. So our decreasing sections are the alternate ones in between here and here, and then there to there. So decreasing is going to be from negative 0.432 to 0.541, and then pick back up at 2.14 and go to where? Infinity. Probably one of the biggest things I see is people making that a negative infinity on questions like that because it goes down. Remember, you're using your x values. That goes to the right. That is it. Okay. Now, like I said, we're going to practice in groups here for a minute before we do our homework time, and then we are going to be done for the day. In the event you don't have your calculator at home, just one thing I want to show you. How many of you have heard of Desmos? A couple people. This is basically an online graphing calculator. If you go to desmos.com, you can just start graphing, and it will bring up a coordinate plane here for you. And it's very easy to type stuff in. So on that first one, 2x to the third plus 5x squared. Use the little caret button above the number 6. And you can type in the whole thing. Rather than doing zooms, you can like drag it around with your mouse. So if you need to use something at home, this can give you all of the different things that you need for it. So it's another thing you can use at home. But I do encourage you at this point to use your calculators because that is what you're going to have for the test.